the things that I'll talk about. First of these is innovation. I mean, I think that students cannot be too young when they start thinking about what's a new idea. And I think all of us who are in science, and I'm a biochemist by training, think about what's new. You can't come up with an old thing and be successful in science. It's got to be something innovative and new. And so what are these kinds of things? And so new approaches, new ideas, new methods to do things, etc. There's tons of things to think about. And believe me, we haven't discovered all of those yet. We still have to go through and find this discovery thing. And then in my case, and taking it through my students, is how do we get it from that idea on move forward until we get it into a product. So innovation, I think, is a really great thing, and as I'm thinking in placing this in context with students who are about to go overseas, that's going to be a brand new experience for them. It's going to be something they probably have not seen before, not even thought about. In many cases, like me, until I went to Europe for the first time, I didn't know what to expect. But I was more mature, I was older, I already had a PhD, so when I went, it was really a great learning experience. But it wasn't something that took me into a shock state, if you know what I mean. It's just, it's there, and I took it, and I think I learned a lot from it. In fact, coming here has taught me a lot, because I thought, well, wow, there's a whole thing devoted to going abroad, you know. But no, after I sit here and listen to people and things that you do and been talking about, I think this is a fantastic idea, first of all, to begin with. And then secondly, the way it's been working through the process of getting around and getting to students and having them kind of cross over that boundary. I kind of call it a boundary because they have to learn on this side, jump that fence, and then learn on the other side as well. And then become accommodated to the idea that they can work internationally. I think that's a superb thing. And the world's trending toward that at the moment. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys know all about this, but certainly I've learned it in the time that I've been here. The second principle I want to talk about is entrepreneurship. One of the things I teach my students is that in order to be innovative and take that through, you have to have entrepreneurship. You've got to learn how to approach things that are going to get you where you want to go. And entrepreneurship is one of those. You have to be kind of like self-motivated. Nobody's going to do it for you. You've got to be self-motivated. You've got to carry yourself over that. On the other side of entrepreneurship, there's danger. There could be paths of water and paths of mud that you're going to fall into and never get out of. So you have to be smart about what you're doing. If you're jumping over that fence to get into that lake, goodwill and money abounding, well, you have to be careful about that. You have to be careful and meticulous and know what you're doing and plan your route accordingly. So that's entrepreneurship. You're thinking ahead, you're willing to take a chance, you're not worried about too much, but yet you've got to worry about some things. So it's this kind of uneasy feeling, but you know you're going to get there. And so inside, you've got to kind of do it all and then jump that fence. And so I think in my own mind, that's what I see as a young person, you know, trying to go abroad for the first time, leaving your family, you know, all the things that people talk about. I think all those things are important for them to consider, and it's important for us to consider, and you especially who are their mentors and trying to get them to jump over this thing. It's really important. So I call that entrepreneurship. And then the last thing I'll talk about, I talk more about my courses, but is leadership. I think all of us, and somebody mentioned they were in the Navy. I was in the Navy. I was a naval officer. I came out, and all my family had fought in world wars and all that kind of stuff. I happened to be there at Vietnam time. But I was on a destroyer, and we had to patrol Taiwan Straits and all that kind of stuff. But leaving the Navy, when you apply to officer candidate school, the dropout rate, meaning you're forced out because you didn't make it, is just short of 50%. So it's not easy to get in, and once you're in for a trying time. First of all, at officer candidate school, then when you get on that ship and you get your first encounter with something coming at you, you don't know what to do with it. Now you have the training, and you have to have the grit to sit there and actually take some action without getting panicky. And mine came at midnight one night because I was my first watch as a young ensign. I went up on the bridge. It was midnight. Stroke after midnight, there's a big circle of ships in the middle, everything else. And all of a sudden, the ship in the middle, which was one of the big ones, started flashing these lights out and meant that they'd broken down. And all of a sudden, I was in danger of crashing my ship into that ship, and I had to take drastic action at the moment. This is this young guy, 20 years old, first stint and first time at sea on my own, as a person who's driving the ship, basically. And I very calmly, because of my training, said, okay, I'll stop. And I veered over to the right a little bit and kind of stopped it, and then everything slowed down. In the meantime, the captain was alerted. He came running out, and he said, what'd you do? And I said, I told him what I did. He says, well done. I thought, yes, sir. But that's the kind of thing, and I think that's what's going to happen when they go over for the first time. They're going to get in there, they're going to make that leap. Pretty scary. But they land on the other side, and what they're going to say is, whew, well, that wasn't so bad. It wasn't really so bad. So leadership, in a sense, then, is learning how to do these things, and that really ties into a lot of these things that are going to make them successful. Because if you can become a leader, have fears, but conquer them. If you have wisdom and use it, and if you have courage and use that as well, I think these guys are going to be very successful. So I think those things are very important. I had some other things that I want to say very quickly, and that is that, one of the things that I think are important for them to have, and I think people have said it already, so maybe I'll kind of paraphrase a little bit right here. One of them is that, and this is before they go, before they get, on that platform and jump over to the other side, is they have to have some clear idea about what to expect when they get over there. And so I think, and I don't do this myself, and I'm just thinking, what would I do if I were in your place and you were having a student and you wanted to get to the other side and safely navigate that, and then come out well and learn a lot and do what you're supposed to do, what they're supposed to do. And that is that somebody on this side has to say, and this is the mentors, kind of explain what some of the clear outcomes might be or should be, because they can get a clear idea of what to expect on that side. If you can look at the other side and say, look, they can say to you, well, there's a rough spot right on the other side, and you try and paint a picture for them. Then what they've got is a clear idea of where they're going to be landing, what their expectations will be on that other side, what people are going to expect of them, what are going to be the outcomes of your being there, how they're going to benefit that person by doing this little journey and then succeeding at the other end. So in a sense then, before they even get to that point, somebody has to be on this side of that fence and saying, these are the kinds of things you will be encountering. These are the kind of ways that you can conquer those obstacles. This is the way to move forward and get them prepared before they make that little jump over. And then the expectation on the other side is, what do you expect to accomplish at the end of it all, and what's going to happen after that? So they have a good idea of starting, going, jumping over that hurdle that's going to be their actual hurdle, and then land on the other side and what to do there. And if they have a clear picture of that, I have a feeling, that's what happened to me throughout my life. And I think that would be extraordinarily great for the students who want to make this leap. And so consequently then, I think that is probably going to be the gist of my presentation. I didn't have a slideshow because I was not, for some reason or other, I didn't know that I had to do a slideshow. So let me put it that way. It could be me.
You did well.
I sometimes wonder what's going on. So, and then, of course, there's other things, too, that people have to think about, and tech transfer is one of those that I've been doing for many years. How do you transfer information from one to the other and how that's done? There's a lot of legal things involved and the rest of it, but certainly that's an important component as well. Not necessarily for your students going over there, but certainly at some point it becomes important. And the other thing is, how do we measure the progress that they've made? How do we know that by going overseas and doing this program that they have actually accomplished something? And what's the measure that you're going to use to say that it was a successful thing to do or not a successful thing to do? And I think that's really important. Everything that we do, at NIH we did something and we had to measure out, how is this going to play out in terms of whether it's going to have impact, not impact, and that kind of stuff. And so I think that's also important to think about in terms of these students. And I think one of those outcomes is as you start looking at all the numbers, and I'm sure you've already thought about this, and that is how do cohorts who have been there and done that evaluated at the end. And then how do you know that evaluation is going to show that they've had some success or no success or whatever? So what measurements will you use to do that? So these are all kind of challenges, but it certainly, I think, these are the things that are needed in terms of, I think at the end, have a satisfactory, not only a program and also the things that happen in it, but also at the end, being able to say to any granting agency, it was successful. I ask you, how do you know that? And you can just show them some, nobody's going to walk away with saying, oh, it was great because I said so. They're going to have something that says, this is why it's great, and actually has some proof of it. So that's about it for me. I just wanted to kind of reinforce those things, and at least in my own mind, because right now that's what I've done.